Now, Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Joining me on the phone from LA Guns, it is new frontman Kirk Frohlich. The band's album Renegades comes out later this year. But before that, let us welcome back returning co-host, the one, the only, the indefatigable Alain Niven. Bonjour, Monsieur Alain.
Bonjour, Monsieur. Ça va?
Oui. And I've said this previously, and I'll keep saying it again. I am glad that we are doing this regularly again. I think what we had a year or 2 years ago, whenever it was magic. And I tried doing it alone for a little bit because of circumstance. And I just realized this is more fun. It's just more fun this way. So merci. You're making it fun again.
Well, bless your heart. I do it because it's fun. I enjoy doing it with you, and I'm very honored to have the privilege to do this with you. And, hopefully we illuminate and entertain a little bit.
Yes.
And you got someone to drop the occasional bomb, and you can smile and watch it go off.
Exactly. And plus, on your Wikipedia page, it says that you are co-host for Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. So we have to, add to the truthiness of Wikipedia, right? We can't.
I'm entirely not responsible for that. I'm sure most people do their own Wikipedia pages. I really could give a damn. I did once do a reasonable shot at a curriculum vitae for LinkedIn, and that's it. That's enough said. Boring enough. Let's go on.
Yeah, let's go on. And I will say this, once I went to research something on Alice Cooper for an interview, and it said, according to Alice's producer, Mitch Lafon, and I went, what now? So that is the day that I actually signed up for Wikipedia, and I went and I modified that because there was I don't know who wrote that or how they got that idea. It wasn't me, but that's got to disappear because we cannot have that out there. I really don't know who put that there, and I also don't know who wrote that you are professionally now the Rock Talk host. Not that I mind, but I don't know who writes this stuff, but I'm down for it. Anyway, let us get over to Kurt. Here's the great thing about Kurt. So he joins LA Guns, this version with Steve Riley and Kelly Nichols. They play M3. Great show. They do this new album. First couple of singles sound good, but here's where you and I are going to get off on it. He actually got to play hockey with Mark Messier. The Mark and Wayne Gretzky. Isn't that cool?
That's like, it's almost the same as someone handing you a Telecaster and saying, go out there on the stage and just back Jimmy up with a few chords. I mean, my God, can you imagine being on the ice with the great one, or Messier, who is just a legend of the sport? I mean, that's lifetime magic when that sort of thing happens. When you get that close to somebody that special and actually do something with them, it's incredible.
It is. And so, Kirk tells the story during the interview, but it's just funny because, he tells it during the interview, but his dad was the lawyer for the Edmonton Oilers, and he's from Edmonton, and so on and so forth. And anyway, I was having a conversation off air, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Wayne Gretzky used to be at the house, and Yari Curry, and Mark," and I'm like, "What now? They what now?" And so anyway, in fact, let's just start the interview. Here is from LA Guns, frontman Kurt Frohlich and his Edmonton Oilers stories. Here's Kurt. We are speaking with LA Guns frontman Kurt Frohlich. The new album, Renegades, out on Golden Robot Records later this year, as we say in Montreal. Bonjour, Kurt. Comment allez-vous? How are you?
Très bien, merci.
Très bien.
Great.
Yeah, you're
Canadian.
You are from Canada, right? You're a Vancouverite. Is that how we say them? Vancouverites? Vancouver area?
I'm an Edmontonian.
Ooh, so
born and raised in Edmonton, and went out to Vancouver for a couple of years. Did some music out there, and and then I moved to Vegas in '99. But up until then, in Canada.
So does that make you a de facto hockey fan? Are you an Oilers fan, or did you say, "Ugh, I don't know"?
I'm diehard Oilers fan. Yeah,
Ah,
my father worked for the Oilers for 12 years. He worked for the
really?
Oilers organization for 12 years. So Gretzky would come over to the house and Messier and Coffee and all those guys, and it was pretty
Wait,
cool.
wait, wait. Back up the truck here. I know we're going to talk L.A. Guns Renegades album, but Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier, or let me rephrase that: the great Wayne Gretzky and the great Mark Messier and Yari Curry
Yeah.
would just sort of hang out at your house.
Well, they would, yeah, because my father did some law. He was a lawyer for the Edmonton Oilers for years, and so we would get like the coaches would come coach my team because I played hockey and my dad coached the team. And I'll tell you one quick story about when we practiced. My dad got the ice, Northlands Coliseum, where the Oilers played. After their practice, my father got our team to practice after them, get the ice, and he said to Glenn Sather, who was the coach at the time, said,
Oh, I know
"Mind
who
if some
Glenn
of the guys
Sather is.
stay?" Yeah, you know, Montreal, you know.
Yeah.
So he said, "What about some of the players staying on after?" And he goes, I think it was Teddy Green, the assistant coach, said, "Tell you what, we'll do better than that." And all the players stayed. So we got to take shots on Fuhrer, and then we played a scrimmage, and I took a face-off. I played center ice. I took a face-off against Messier, and they were going to run like a drill. All right, guys, break out, pull the face-off, and go around these guys like pylons. You know, we were like, I don't know, young, like 12 years old. So he dropped the puck,
Wow.
and I pulled the face off and pulled it away from Mark Messier. That was my day of glory of hockey.
Wow. So that's kind of cool. Now that you've moved down to Vegas, or now, 21 years ago, you moved down to Vegas. Was it exciting then to have the Golden Knights show up in town? Because that's been a success story beyond a success story. Did you look at that and go, "Fuck yeah, man! Look at this"?
Well, I was in Vegas. I'm now in Florida, but when I was in Vegas, I finally got season tickets to a hockey team. You know, it was my dream. I'm like, I want season tickets to an NHL team. You know, my father worked for the organization back then, but after that, being out on your own, and then finally, they were coming to town, coming to Vegas. Vegas was getting a hockey team, and I moved to Orlando.
What's the
It was kind
closest
of a
one?
bummer.
What's the closest one then for Orlando? Is it the Panthers or the Lightning?
Tampa Bay Lightning's about an hour and a half away from me here.
Uh,
So I go
that's
see the Oilers every time they're in town. I go see the Oilers play.
good. And next time the Habs come into town, go down and just raise a cup for me and hope we beat those bastards.
Yeah, they're good.
They,
Lightning are a good team.
Anyway, fans are tuning in to hear us talk rock, not necessarily talk hockey, though. When you tune
Right.
into a Canadian show, there's always a risk that a hockey
When
conversation
two
will break out.
Canadians hook up, they're going to talk some hockey.
Yeah, it is just the way it goes up north. But okay, so let's talk about this LA Guns thing. So last year, before the M3 festival, Steve Riley says, "I'm going to do a version of LA Guns," and then there was this mystery: who's going to be the singer? And it went on for a few weeks. Just quickly, how did you get the gig? How did Steve Riley and Kelly Nichols know who you were? Did you send in a demo? Did they see a videotape? Was it a buddy who said, "Hey, you got to check out Kurt, man, he's fucking awesome"? Like, how did that sort of happen?
Well, I got a text from my friend Jason Green. I used to work with a band out of Vegas called the Sin City Sinners, and he was managing them. And I was kind of like the fifth, sixth member of that band. I produced some of the records. And when Todd Kearns, their singer, was out of town playing with Slash or whatever, I would fill in for him. And so I did a lot of work with them. And so he messaged me from Vegas. I'm out here in Orlando, and said, "LA Guns is looking for a singer. Are you interested at all? Throw your name in the hat." And I said, I don't know. I'm not really that style of singer. I love LA Guns. I grew up, listening to all the records. So, and but I was a little hesitant because that's not really my style of singing. And then I left for a couple days and thought about it, and I was like, man, I'd kick myself if I didn't at least try this, because I'm such a fan, and I love the songs, and I love the music, and then next thing you know, I got a call from Steve Riley, and obviously he had done some homework on me. I didn't send any demos in or any videos, I think those guys did their homework online and talked to people that I know in the circles of from Vegas and LA. And he kind of, between talking to other people and talking to Steve, he kind of talked me into it and said, "You got to be you, man. Be yourself." And I was like, "That's the only way I can do it, is sing." And I'm sure you hear on the first track, "Crawl," that's my style of singing. You know, I'm not trying to imitate anybody's voice, or just got to be myself. And so far so good.
Yeah, and Crawl sounds great, by the way. I mean, I know that there's this sort of division where fan bases are going, well, one, you can't like one if you like the other, and which to me is complete nonsense. I think you can like both. I think you can promote both. I think you can enjoy both. I don't think it has to be any kind of competition. But let's get to M3 here. So here we are in May of 2019. The band's going to play. I'm there with my buddy Jeremy White. And we sort of look at each other and we go, okay, this is going to be one of two things. It is going to be a massive train wreck, and it's going to be all over Twitter and internet, and people are going to just, or it's going to be phenomenal. And people are just going to go, oh, well, look at that. And it turns out it was the latter. And I put some video up on Twitter and on Facebook and other places. And then people started writing in on my Twitter. They're going, man, I was expecting a train wreck, but this is actually really fucking good. And that sort of built a bit of a momentum, because all of a sudden, all these people that were expecting the worst went, oh, okay. So how was that show for you? And did you have that sense of sort of a do or die, like, man, if we don't hit this out of the park, it's going to just, how was it for you?
I think we went into it just, hoping for the best. And the thing that really affected it is we all really did our homework. And so we went in, we all live in different corners of the country. So we didn't get to like hang out and rehearse for weeks. We pretty much did one day of rehearsal. And then we just went home to our separate cities, did our homework, and then showed up. That's pretty much how it went. So it was nerve-wracking, and especially nerve-wracking because I know we were going to be under the microscope, which we were. But we just had fun with it, and we were just like, what happens, happens, That's kind of the attitude we took.
And how did you approach it vocally? Because, there are some bands like Great White and Rat and LA Guns where it's very distinctive, the voice. Did you say, okay, I've got to go mimic this? Or did you just say, hey, listen, I'm just going to interpret these songs in my way?
I want to do the melodies as close to the way they're written, because they're great melodies and that, they're great songs. So I want to do the songs justice as much as I can while being myself. I don't want to change melodies. So that's kind of how, and phrasing, I think Phil's phrasing is really great. The way he takes his flow of melody and timing, I really love. And that can't be changed. That's why those songs are hits. Vocal melodies and songwriting. So.
Of course. So talk to me about the Renegades album. Do we have an actual release date on it, or is it still at some point this year?
It's all being dependent on what's going to happen with live shows. And, so far we're scheduled to start going out in August. So we'd like the album to release before we start doing all our shows. So that's kind of the time frame we're on right now. So if anything changes, we would have to push stuff back. But as of now, we're starting shows in early August. So, and we want the album to come out before then. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be a new single coming out next month in June. So we're looking forward to that new single. It's going to blow people away. I love this next song we're putting out. So
does it have a title? Can we reveal a title? Is that
I don't think I can reveal a title yet.
That's dangerous. All right. I do want to ask you a couple more things about the album, but I just want to get this out of the way before I forget. When I was researching for all of this, I noticed that Kurt Frohlich comes up as a professional voice actor. That's one of the things that pops up when you look for you. Is that something that you're? Well, I don't know. Is that something that you actively do? Is that something that you and what does that mean?
I studied voiceover when I was in Las Vegas at a school, voiceover school in Las Vegas, and for about a year, maybe a year or two. And then I started actively, because when I was moving from in Las Vegas, I was a full-time musician, making a really good living. And so when we wanted to we had a little girl, we wanted to start her in school somewhere other than Las Vegas because the schools weren't, what we were looking for. And so we moved out to Florida, to Orlando, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be making as much money as I was in Las Vegas. So that's why I started taking voiceover lessons, and I was actively working as a voiceover artist. And as a voiceover artist, you can work from your home. So I did everything from video games to ads to all sorts of stuff. And now that I'm full-time again, now that I'm back on my feet, took me a couple of years, I just I don't have time to do the voiceover work anymore, as I'm playing full-time as a musician. Not right now, obviously, but I got it up to there here in Orlando. So
now the voiceover stuff, is it stuff that we would have heard of, or is it sort of random documentaries? Like, do I turn on a Wendy's commercial and hear your voice? And I don't mean to be that facetious. I'm serious. Was it like some high profile stuff?
Nothing on like nationwide television or anything like that. It was a lot. Some of the stuff was like internet ads for like watch companies and for like some gyms and stuff, like chain gyms. It wasn't like anything as big as like Kohl's Gym or something. But and then I did some like a couple of horror video games where I was the main character. So if you're a gamer, you might hear my voice on some stuff. But yeah, nothing that anybody probably would remember off the top of their head.
All right, well, that's kind of cool. So before we get to talking about Kiss, let's just talk about Renegades. Now, from what I understand, it was recorded rather quickly. It wasn't one of these, we're in the studio for 6 months. Talk to me a little bit about that, and how involved were you with the arrangement and the writing and actually making these songs? Or did Kelly and Steve say, hey, listen, we know what LA Guns is. We'll get that part done. Just come on in and sing. How much was it a team project, and how much was it not a team project, I guess?
It was a 4-part team project, like totally evenly. And, it was a democracy. Everyone submitted songs. We all submitted a bunch of songs, and then we narrowed it down to like 10, 12 songs. And so say we used a couple of Kelly songs, a couple of my songs. Everyone's songs made the album. And we all agreed, this song's better than this song. Okay, yeah, let's use that song. And then I'd write parts for Kelly songs and vice versa. Kelly and Steve has songs in the album. So it was all completely a team effort. So the album has diversity and it has depth, I think, where it's not just one person or two people writing the material. I think that really comes across in the album. And the album has depth, and it has everything from a couple ballads to like some really hard rockers that you might hear like on the first LA Guns record. So.
All right. See, I'm down for this. Now, one of the ways that we've known each other in the past was Vancouver's own Kiss tribute band, Black Diamond, which I believe also had Benny Doro in it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that time and putting that band together and the importance of Kiss in your life.
I got my first Kiss record when I was 6 years old. I got the first self-titled album. I had a Mickey Mouse record player where Mickey's finger was like the needle, if anyone had one of those. And I was like, I didn't think it was cool that I had the Mickey Mouse record player, but the Kiss album, I put it on my Mickey Mouse record player. And first I looked at the album cover and I was like, whoa. My cousin, who was in a band, gave me the album. And he goes, check this out. And right away, I saw the album cover and I was like, oh my God, I have to listen to this. And sure enough, like Strutter was like one of my favorite songs for 10 years, more than that. So I was hooked right away. And then fast forward to the 90s, early 90s, there was Benny Doro had a original band. He was being managed by Paul Stanley at the time. And he needed a guitar player. So my bass player friend from Calgary contacted me and said, "They're looking for a guitar player for this original band." And he sent me the material, and it sounded like Revenge Kiss, between Revenge Kiss and like 1984 Van Halen. So I was in Van Halen and Kiss, two of my favorite bands. So I learned the material. I drove out to Vancouver, and we would send Paul Stanley demos of the stuff we were doing, and Paul was like, "It's I can't really do anything with this stuff. It's like late '80s rock, you know what I mean?" So he said, "What about doing something more current?" Like that was when Alice in Chains was hitting, and all the '90s stuff, like '90. This was like '93. And we really weren't into that at the time. We were still into Kiss and Van Halen, you know. And so Benny said to Paul Stanley, he said, "What about doing a Kiss tribute?" And he said, "Yeah, you have our blessing to do it." So we went to school and all this stuff and put on the makeup and rehearsed and got a pyro guy, got a lighting guy. And we went out and we toured and did like the big show. We did like 32 concussion bombs a night in our show. And we didn't make much money because it all went back into the show. So it was kind of like I saw doing the Kiss tribute thing as like my university. We toured, we went to Japan, we did all the United States and Canada multiple times. So that was kind of like my university of rock and roll in my 20s.
That's kind of cool. And I don't know if you are able to quickly look at your Facebook, but I sent you 2 pictures, which I believe are you.
I just saw that.
Those are you.
That's me.
All right.
That's me.
I will post those later for folks to see. But you also opened for Kiss, right, on the convention tour?
Yeah, Benny was in direct contact, I think, with Kiss's camp. So they wanted to do a big run of shows when they were doing the convention tour, because they had tribute bands opening up for them, or doing before their acoustic set, a Kiss tribute would play. But we were actively out on tour. Like we were doing shows across the country, you know, full time. We'd do like 5-6 shows a week, all one-nighters. And so we were going to do the Dallas show and the New Orleans show. And then the New Orleans show got canceled, so we had to drive. We were in Minnesota at the time, so we drove all the way down just to do the one show in Dallas. And then we drove all the way back up to get back on our track of our tour.
All right, so let's do the Kiss geek thing for a second.
All right, I'm in.
Did Vinnie Vincent save Kiss? Yes or no?
Did Vinnie save? I don't know if save is a good word. I think he brought a lot to the table.
Yeah,
he did. As far as songs, and I don't know if save is a word. Didn't a lot of different guys audition at that time? It just happened to be Vinnie that. Yeah. Maybe he got in because he had brought some good songs to the table.
Who knows, right? As the character Ace Frehley, when you're playing these things, what are some of the things you notice in terms of his playing? Because I know the Black Diamond Tribute Band, it was a top quality band. You really had it sort of nailed down. Is it easy to play Ace's style? Like, what is sort of the easiest part of being the Ace thing, and what's sort of the toughest stuff you've had to do?
I think when this was in like my early 20s, when I was learning all this material, like Ace's stuff, and I kind of got, when you're learning, I know guitar players might be able to relate, you kind of get into the guitar player's head of what he's doing and what kind of map he's following and what his habits are. And that's kind of that was kind of easy for me, because I kind of related to that. I related to the way Ace plays and everything. So it kind of came easier. Like a guy like Richie Blackmore, who is, I can't get in that guy's head, man. He's just like, you know what I mean? Whereas Ace, obviously Ace isn't as complex a guitar player as that, but I really saw how Ace approaches the guitar. And once you kind of get in that headspace, it helps.
All right, so I'm going to ask you the very traditional questions then. Is Destroyer their best album?
From a financial standpoint, obviously it was, but I don't know. But it's different. It's a different album because it's got, you know, the piano in it, and it's not my favorite Kiss album. It's, you know, it's obviously one of the best Kiss albums, but, you know, I love Rock and Roll Over and Dress to Kill, but that's arguable.
Well, we can argue it. I am going to no, but I'm going to agree with you. I think, and I don't mean to be disparaging. I think it is slightly overrated. I think it's a great album, and of course, Detroit Rock City and King of the Nighttime World, and you know, you can't deny those songs. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, when you get down to Great Expectations and stuff, you're just like, all right, already, stop it. Whereas when you listen to Love Gun or when you listen to Rock and Roll Over or Creatures of the Night or Revenge, there is no point for me on those albums where I get a fatigue, right? I mean, you sort of have to, right?
I agree. I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
some of the stuff is like, I'd rather hear like Two Timer than Sweet Pain or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or well, for me, it's Great Expectations. I just find it to be not, classic, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, it's no King of the Nighttime World. Yeah,
it's whatever. Just real quick, back on L.A. Guns. Once Renegade comes out and you're going, what is sort of the plan for this band? Is it we're going to tour and we'll see how the fans react to us, and if it's great, we'll keep going? Or is there like a 1-year plan to say, hey, we'll go do an album cycle and then everybody goes back to their house and merry way? How do you sort of see this moving forward? Because with you being sort of, a younger guy compared to the others, you could certainly draw this out for another 10 or 15 years if everybody wants to.
I think if we can, I'm really happy with this Renegades album. And if we can keep putting out good material and we keep enjoying it and people want to come see it, we'll keep doing it. That's, if it's not enjoyable for us or for the fans, we don't want to do it. But as of now, we don't put a timeline really on anything.
Okay. So then what makes you happy about this Renegades album?
I think that we all of us put our hearts into this album and we're all on it. Our lyrics are on it. We obviously all played equally on it. And it's just such a joint effort that it's not, like I played all my guitar tracks. Scotty played all his solos. Scotty was like, why don't you take the solo on this song? So I played a guitar solo on a song. That's just kind of how, and that's why it feels so good. And the songs are strong. I'm just excited for everybody to hear it, really.
Well, you can go ahead and send it to me. I have no problems. You feel free. Feel free. Just call
Steve.
Just call Steve. Yeah, I'll call Steve and ask him to send it over. In terms of yourself, though, do you still want to have sort of a side career where you'll do solo stuff, maybe do another original material band, maybe go back and do some Kiss tribute stuff? How do you sort of see yourself moving forward?
I've always been a full-time musician. I've never had a day job, so this is all I know how to do. The only thing I did was that voiceover stuff to kind of bridge me moving, where I didn't have to go out and do a 9-to-5 job. I'm not cut out for that. So I have a cover band here in Orlando. We do all British rock. I play with a couple guys from Blue Man Group, a guy from used to play with Seven Mary 3, and we do all British rock. We love doing like Bowie, T-Rex, The Sweet, and all stuff that we love. And it's actually taken off here in Florida area. We do corporate gigs. We do it to make money. I don't want to work a day job. I'd rather play rock and roll.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a little bit of everything. And I play, we do 90s rock and roll thing. That fills in the gaps. We play everywhere from House of Blues to nightclubs to corporate gigs. Anything that keeps us working.
Yeah, well, good, as it should be. And we'll finish on this. Is how devastating has this COVID thing been for you? I mean, obviously there's no gigs right now, so everything you just described about making money and playing for gigs is currently not happening. Is it something that you can rebound from, or do you start thinking, maybe I should go be an accountant? Like, do you start thinking, maybe I do need a plan B?
I don't think the plan B is even an option. I think the main thing is the timeline. Like, when is stuff like large concerts like M3, when are those possible to do? Big sporting events, NHL hockey, when's that going to happen with even 50% of the crowd there? That's the main thing I'm worried about. As far as chomping at the bit and all of us sitting at home right now, I'm kind of like, you know what? I can't change it. Let's just make the best of it. I'm really glad we finished the Renegades album before all this shit went down, because that would have sucked. That we are all in the studio together was so great. And even like my British rock cover band, we just put an album out via Dropbox. It's not out yet, but so we're just trying to make the best of it. So we're all in the same boat. It's kind of how I see it, and just enjoy spending time with your family. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I got the dog right next to me here. It's actually kind of great. And listen, I hope for M3 to come back, because it was a great beginning for you. You were supposed to play it again, and I think it was a premier stage
scheduled. So
let's see. And the one thing for me as a Canadian now is, will they let me into the country? Because right now I cannot go because the border's closed. So it's like, oh, hey, there's the festival. You can't go. So
wow, yeah, I have my folks in Edmonton, so I'm like, yeah, when can I do that?
You can't. Now, I'll tell you one good thing about this COVID thing is the sports channels, the dedicated sports channels, which in Canada are Sportsnet and TSN. They've been replaying classic hockey games. And so for the last month, I've been able to watch the Canadians win Stanley Cups over and over every night. So that's actually been a benefit, because it's been like 30 years since they've actually done it. So
they won a lot in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm good with all, like they were showing the Flames and the Habs from '89 all week, and the Habs won. I was like, I'm good with this. I don't need to watch real hockey. This is fine. Let's go back to the good old days.
The Oilers were finally going to make the playoffs this year. Well, so much for that.
So much for that. Well, listen, think about it this way. Connor McDavid with his legs and all that, they probably rushed him back in. Now he's had an extra few months to rest. Next season, come September or October, he will be in prime shape. So you'll be good to go. Anyway, on that, Monsieur Frohlich, Kurt, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Oh, it's a great pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate your support as always, man.
Yeah, and I wish you all the best with Renegades. I truly think Crawl was a great lead-off track, and I can't wait to hear the second one. But ultimately, I can't wait to hear the whole album, because it's good rock and roll. So let's go. Anyway, thank you, sir.
You're gonna dig it. Thanks, Mitch.
Here's Paul Stanley to tell you why he doesn't want to shake your hand.
Some people might have a little rock and roll pneumonia.
Ugh, not even cold gin will kill those germs. This is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.